Welcome back to Telling God's Story. Today we're going to focus on a story that you've probably read, heard, talked about many times before. If nothing else, you've seen cutesy little pictures of a boat with animals and their heads sticking off the side of it. Noah's Ark. If you would take out the Bible and read from Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 5, all the way through Genesis chapter 9, verse 17. As we look at the account of the flood, what I'd really like to focus on is not the nitty-gritty details, so much as how this incident exemplifies what we're looking at as we look at the biblical narrative. That is creation, fall, redemption, and recreation. Because here in the flood account, we see both evidence of the fall into sin. We see it very clearly. And then we also see God's redemptive work as he preserves and protects Noah and his family. So if you look at those initial verses in Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 5, the text says, "The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them." So here we're seeing the effects of the fall into sin, which we first encountered in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve's sin. Now sin has taken root in mankind, so much so. The evil that's prevalent in the lives of people living on the earth is so great that God himself elects to simply wipe them out. He's going to start over. He's done. Sin compounds upon sin and compounds upon sin. This seems like an incident of simply wrath and punishment from God becoming prevalent and overwhelming creation. And yet, even in this account that seems to be so wrathful, we see grace. God preserves. He protects. The text tells us that Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord, and so God preserves a remnant of what he's created. He preserves Noah and his sons and Noah's wife and the wives of Noah's sons. He tells Noah, build a great big boat. He gives him the instruction, 300 cubits and 50 cubits, 30 cubits deep. This is a humongous structure that God is instructing Noah to create. And so Noah does. He goes about building this ark. It's not entirely clear from the text how long Noah spends building the ark. Some commenters suggest upwards of 60, 70 years. It's amazing to think about, and it's amazing to think how crazy people probably thought he was. But God gives Noah the measurements of what to do, and Noah faithfully listens. He does it until that fateful day comes when it's time for the flood waters to begin. And so God brings the animals, they load the animals in the ark, they load the food into the ark, they load Noah and his family into the ark. God closes the door, and now it's time. It's the 600th year of Noah's life, the second month, the 17th day, when the flood waters begin to fall, the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the earth is covered with water. The text tells us that the mountains covered 15 cubits deep, 40 days and 40 nights of rainwater falling. Much more time where water prevails over the earth, over the surface of the planet. It's not until the 601st year of Noah's life, the first month, the first day, happy birthday, Noah, by the way, that we see a new beginning. Noah takes the top off of the ark, and they look out, and they see the dry ground. It's not for a few more days, the 601st year, the second month, 27th day, that God actually tells them, you can now leave the ark. So they've been on this great big boat for a year and 11 days before they escape from the boat. And yet it wasn't a prison that punished them. It was a means by which God preserved and protected. He saved them. 1 Peter chapter 3 actually points to this incident with the ark, something that points us towards holy baptism. Because God saved Noah and his family through water, just as God saves us through waters of baptism. Nevertheless, God preserves and protects Noah, and then he makes him a promise. We see this in the covenant that God makes with Noah in chapter 9. He promises that he will never again cut all flesh off by the waters of a flood, that he's not going to repeat this means by which he set out to start over. He sends Noah and his family forward to be fruitful and to multiply. He gives the animals that were in the ark the same commission: be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. And he gives them a sign of his promise. He sets his rainbow in the sky as a reminder that he has sworn never to wipe out all flesh by waters of a flood. And so you and I, when we see a rainbow, that ought to remind us of God's promise and God's faithfulness to his promises. Well, that's about it for this time. Thank you for joining us. I hope you join me next time as we begin to look at the life of Abraham as we go about telling God's story.